So we have different types of user interfaces, and one is graphical user interface, which is the most common UI. This is where you use icons, buttons, menus, and window panels. Then we have other user interfaces, command line user interfaces, voice user interfaces, so touch user interfaces and all that. But now, in relation to discuss, we want to talk about visual user interface, and these are visual designs. This is the things your users see. So everything you see on a product, be it website, be it a mobile app, as a user is called user interface, and it's mostly graphical user interface because it's a way to make things easier for your users. So right now we'll start the project of a theme. Since we've talked about low fidelity wireframe, we've talked about MIFI, we've talked about IFI. So now is the time to start implementing everything we've talked about, the sketches, the initial drawing, and everything we've spoken about. Is time to put it to use. We have a wireframe here, and that's wireframe for you. So we're going to use user interface to transform all this to an actual app that users can interact with. Now I want to start a design afresh, and is either I use a new design file, but we have a file we've created already, so we're going to start working on that. So I'm going to start a new project. Is either I use an existing file or I create a new design file. So let me use an existing file. We have our wireframes here already. I'm going to open this file, and it's brought me here. So this is the Figma Canva, and all I have to do is to add a new page. Then I'll name it IFI, my fidelity website. I told you about different types of wireframe. So right now this is high fidelity website. Yeah, so we have it right here. So right now I want to start the project, and we're going to start by designing a logo. So Figma can be used to design a website, not just a mobile app. You can use it to design a logo, you can use it to design all sorts of things. So let's try out what a logo would look like. So let's say we want to build a website for Glad Creative Studio. That's the name I'll give the project, and that will be the name of the website I want to create. So I'll start by taking a frame, and since it's a website, I'll start with a desktop. So I'll take a desktop neutral app. I'll not even take my book or something. So let me just take a desktop neutral app, which is this. And currently this is a desktop neutral app. And before we proceed, let me start by designing a logo. So you could design a logo however you want, and you could proceed to design a logo. So for now, let's start by designing a logo. So logos are made up of icons and all that. So let's say I want to create a Glad Creative Studio. So all I have to do is to write out the name. Let me just start with a test for now. So let me use my test tool to write out the name of what I want to create, which is Glad Creative Studio. Yes, so this is the name of the website I want to create. So let me just increase the text size and everything. We've talked about it before, so let me just increase it for now, and let's see what that will be like. So let me just give it any text. I'll say this should be like shouldn't be a 12. Let's make it like a 16. So let me just highlight it. I'll click on the text, and I'll make sure it's where I highlighted. I'll click on Ctrl to highlight it. Make sure this sky blue is right there, so that means I've selected it. So I'm going to say zoom to like 100% here. So I'm going to increase the value. So let me just increase the value of the design here. So I'll increase to something like this. Yes, so we have something like this, Glad Creative Studio. So I want to create a logo for this brand. So I'll take, logo is all about ideas, so you could actually sketch different ideas for your logo, but for the sake of discuss, let's create something simple. So I'll take out the B, the C, and the S to create a Glad Creative Studio logo. So right now I'm going to use the rectangle tool. To draw something like this, and let's do something like this. So okay, so I'll do something like this, and I'll do something like this. That'll work for Glad Creative Studio. But what is the benefit of this that I'm doing? Okay, I could create something like this as well. So I could do something like this, and this will work as Glad Creative Studio. I know you don't know where I'm going to, but you get to see where I'm going to soon enough. Yeah, so we have something like this, and let's create a Glad Creative Studio from this. So what I'm going to do now is to give it the initials, like the name of the initials, which is PCS. So I could delete this last thing, Well, I've loved that to be there, but let's have that deleted. So, but basically, let's do some edits. So let's do some edits. So right now, I want to give this a color. So let's give it a stroke color at first. So the stroke color will be like, okay, just leave the color of the stroke. And right now, I want to make it thicker. So I'll make it like a 2. Let's see what a 2 will be like. I think a 2 is okay for the stroke color. Then the fill color, I could choose to give it a fill color, and yeah, so I could just give it a fill color. Then let's see what the fill color will be about. So I could just choose to give it a transparent fill color if I want to, if I may, and that's what I just did. So yeah, we have this and to be transparent. So let's make it like that. And right now, all I want to do is to duplicate this. I'll control D this. Yes, I'll control D that, and let me control D this. Let me control D to duplicate again. I will control D this. So let me control D to duplicate. So let's have something like this, and let's see how it goes. So we are going to have this. So I'm going to adjust this to this. I'll choose that, then I'll adjust it to the very end of this. So we have something like this, and yeah, we are good to go. So something I was planning to create before is should be, I was trying to create something afresh. So I'll just say B. Okay, let me do something like this. Let's see if that will work. So control D. Let me control D that. I just control D that, and this is what I have. So something like this would not have been bad, but let me just create the way I wanted to create. So all I have to do is to make sure I click on something and I delete it. I'll click on what I want to delete and I'll delete it. So let me just click on this and duplicate this. Control D. I'll use Control D to duplicate this, and here we are. So we have something like this. So all I want to do now is to write the initials of each text, and to do that, I'm going to use the text button. Of course, I'm going to say B. Yes, there will be a B. Yes, I would take that out. Then I'll write another text. There will be a C. Yes, there will be a C. Yes, and I'll write another text. There will be an S. Yeah, there will be an S. Of course, there will be an S. So let me write that. So we have something like this. So I'll bring them into this. So basically, that's what this will be about. So I'll bring this into this. I'll bring, okay, so C is the next, and S will be the last thing. So I'll bring I'll bring the C into this, and this way I just created a logo for this Blood Creative Studio. So this will be the logo basically. So all I have to do is to highlight this, then I'll have this grouped. Yeah, so I'll group the selection, and I will rename it. I'll just rename it logo from here. I would say logo. So it's going to be named logo. Yes, so I have that, and this is my grouped file, so you could see logo right now, and the text itself could come slightly beside it if this suits us. So I could see that this is a logo, and this logo could be reduced somewhat, and we have something like this. So Blood Creative Studio could be something that would come beneath it, or it could go above it. It depends on how we want it. So something like this is not looking bad for a logo, and this way we could just export the logo if you want to as a black and white. So let's see what we have right now. So let me just say this. I'm going to group it as well. So I'm going to group selection, and we are going to name it the logo. So I would say BCS logo. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to export this as a logo. Basically, though we are still going to do some color changes, but basically I'm going to export it as a logo right now. I'm going to use the export button, and I'm going to preview what I want to export, and look at it right here. It's not looking bad itself, so I'm going to export this as a logo, and this way we are starting to build our design assets. So let's just create a folder on our PC. I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to name it this. I'm going to name it, okay, BCS BCS project on my system. BCS project, yes. And this will be the logo, of course. So I'm going to just bring the logo in, and this says BCS logo is in PNG. It's exported in PNG, and when you open it, you're going to have your BCS logo right there. As you could see, it's transparent, which is what I love basically, and this is looking good so far. So we're going to proceed in the next lesson. Since we've created the logo for first, we're going to proceed in the next lesson to build our web design interface. I hope to see you in the next lesson. See you there.